Welcome to AfriFreedom Channel, your trusted space for fearless conversations on African politics, history, and the struggles. Disclaimer. Before we begin, this video is for educational and informational purposes only. Donald Trump has once again raised controversy by reportedly asking South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa, "When are you arresting Julius Malema?"
But why wouldn't you arrest that man? That man said, kill the white farmers, kill the white farmers. And then he danced, and he's dancing, and it's kill the white farmers. I'm not sure, but I think if somebody got up in Parliament and started saying, kill a certain group of people, he would be arrested very quickly. That man is going all over South Africa, and that's not a small party. That was a stadium that holds 100,000 people, and I hardly saw an empty seat. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of representation. And those crosses, we have dead white people, dead white farmers, mostly. And you take a look at Australia. They're being inundated, and we're being inundated with people that want to get out. And their farm is valueless. It's valueless. And they just want to get out with their life. And this is a very serious situation. And if we had a real news or real press or media, we don't have that because they won't talk about this because they're all guys like that idiot. But if we had a real press, it would be exposed. And you know, the beauty of exposing it is it's like a cleansing action. When it gets exposed, it'll get fixed. That's when it'll get fixed. But people don't talk about it. And I'll tell you who's talking about the thousands of people that are fleeing South Africa right now.
We discussed USAID and the devastating impact the cuts are having across the African continent.
You know, it's devastating, and hopefully a lot of people are going to start spending a lot of money. And I've talked to other nations. We want them to chip in and spend money too. And we've spent a lot. And it's a tremendous problem going on in many countries. A lot of problems going on. The United States always gets the request for money.
That man said kill the white farmers and then he danced. This statement brings forward deep questions about sovereignty, political expression, and external interference in African affairs. Should an American leader dictate or demand the arrest of an African opposition figure? What does this say about the balance of power between the West and Africa? And more importantly, should Africans allow outsiders to frame and define our internal struggles? Burkina Faso's Captain Ibrahim Traoré recently gave what many are calling a masterclass response, highlighting the failures of African leaders to unite. He criticized leaders who continue to fly to the West to seek validation from Donald Trump and others, while Africa burns from within, with crises in the DRC, Sudan, and Palestine connected to global power struggles.
For a sort of class photo with President Trump. And I'll share a comment from a friend of mine who said that Captain Traoré would never have accepted that. Is that true?
Listen, I don't travel much anymore, as you mentioned. And I went to Russia twice for very specific purposes. It may be that I turn to other partners for very specific objectives. Other than that, I don't plan to travel around the world like others do. Because for me, you have to stay focused and work for your country. President Trump himself said, America first. It's America first. He works for the interests of Americans. So I work for the interests of Burkina Faso. If I have no interest there, what would I go there for?
So one of the major current geopolitical issues is, of course, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. We see states taking a stronger and stronger stance. We've seen Western European states, to name them, say that they will recognize, and that's a strong signal, the Palestinian state. But as usual, Africa is almost silent. It is in a wait-and-see position. From Burkina, can you give a position that helps us understand a bit about what Africa thinks regarding what is happening today in the Gaza Strip?
I can't give you a position that shows what Africa thinks.
Certain matters. For certain African leaders?
Because many African leaders have a different way of seeing things. That's Africa's misfortune, if I may say so. We are not united. We don't see things the same way. Some are afraid, some are hesitant, some are there for the interests of other people. Listen, the West brought in people who grew up there, did everything there, and then made them heads of state in Africa. So they're the ones who control all of that, and so Africa can't have an opinion. But I know that deep down in each and every one of us, No one would want to see what's happening over there happen in their own country. But unfortunately, on the African continent, there's a similar situation in Congo. What are we even doing for Congo?
The Democratic Republic of Congo.
How many millions of deaths has it been, and for how long? We ourselves are at war. Have you seen any African countries even speak up for Burkina in the past 10 years? It's rare, it's rare. So Africans have this problem. While when someone in Europe sees they have a problem, everyone is united, people manage to quickly find solutions. It's the same in the United States. But Africa has this problem. You see, we've been fighting for 10 years. You haven't heard anyone raise Burkina's voice at the level of international institutions, nor Mali's, nor Niger's. Our people are dying, and it's not their problem. Congo is dying, and it's not our problem. Last time I tried in one of my speeches to speak out. How many millions of deaths has it been? Look at Sudan, see how they're tearing each other apart. There are so many conflicts on our... We're already struggling, and we can't even make our own voices heard. So how are we going to speak up for others? So we Africans need to come together.
Can Burkina recognize a Palestinian state? Is Burkina ready to recognize the Palestinian state?
Why not? It's a state. It's a state. Why wouldn't we recognize a Palestinian state? No, what's happening is very serious. I think the Palestinian state exists and must exist. Otherwise, this war will never end. Where we're headed, it will never end. While you think it's going to end, it starts up again even stronger. We're going to keep going like this. But I also think that the countries around there bear a lot of responsibility. Because it's their region, and people must be able to have a say in finding a solution to this conflict. That's it.
His words raise an uncomfortable but necessary question: are African leaders truly free, or are too many of them trained and groomed to advance Western interests? Why does Africa remain divided when unity could be our strongest weapon? Looking at South Africa, many voices are reminding us of the contradictions within the ANC. Some argue that Jacob Zuma stood in the way of achieving the core goals of the struggle: land reform, mineral wealth redistribution, and true equality. Yet, they claim that by removing...
I want to say to all of you that we know our enemies. I said, we are talking to Ace Makashule. People are making noise here. I could be speaking to Zuma as well. Because black people must always have a conversation amongst themselves without the interference of the enemy. Why should someone tell me who to talk to and not to talk to? Zuma was not our strategic opponent. Zuma was an irritation. Zuma was engaged in matters that irritated us. But the strategic enemy has always been white monopoly capital. We even sang a song when we were fighting with Zuma. I'm not a good singer. We used to say, Zuma sukendleleni, sushaya ngoba, wemendleleni silwa namabhunu, asilwi nawe. That's what we said when we were fighting with Zuma. All of a sudden, these journalists forget that we said to Zuma, sukendleleni asilwi nawe silwa namabhunu. Today, hey, Malema is talking to Zuma, yes. Why not? Why did you allow Mandela to speak to the clerk? Why did you allow Mandela to speak to Botha? Botha who killed our people, the clerk who killed our people. Mandela did not only speak to the clerk, he even made the clerk the deputy president of South Africa, knowing very well that the clerk killed our people. Today, awungakhulumi no Zuma, because you once fought with Zuma. Who said they are permanent enemies in politics? There are no permanent enemies in politics. Worse, I cannot have a permanent enemy with a black African leader. Let me tell you, Zuma did worse to me. Kicked me when I was down. Took everything from me. Do I have to be bitter about it? No. It's politics. There are no accidents in politics. Everything happened for a reason. We want to thank Zuma for kicking Malema and taking Malema out of the ANC. That's why today we have the EFF. Why former EFF Zuma? He didn't know he was forming it. There is no, you don't have to be negative all the time. In every bad situation, there could be good thing out of that bad situation. Why must I be bitter and angry with Zuma and chase Zuma to the grave? I have punished Zuma. It's enough. You know, when you want to punish a president, make sure that president does not finish his term of office. They will never recover from that. You said to us, Zuma must go. We fought and Zuma left office. Ufuna manje. I must go to Nkandla now and chase Zuma in Nkandla now. After you said to us, remove Zuma from office, mission accomplished. Give me the next assignment.
The ANC brought in an even worse president, one who has allegedly deepened inequality and stagnation. This forces us to reflect, has the liberation movement lost its way? And do ordinary South Africans feel betrayed by leaders who promised freedom but delivered continued hardship? Another growing issue is the rise of movements like Operation Dujela. Critics argue they are nothing more than paid agents, criminalizing fellow Africans under the banner of nationalism while serving hidden agendas. If true, then Operation Dujela is not just a movement but a symptom of a larger sickness where the oppressed turn on each other instead of confronting the system that keeps them down. Should South Africans tolerate such divisions, or should the focus return to dismantling the structures of inequality that continue to plague the nation? Conclusion. What we are witnessing is a pattern, whether it's Donald Trump's remarks, Traore's call for unity, or South Africa's internal betrayals. The struggle for African freedom is far from over. The questions remain pressing.
You don't hate illegal immigration. You hate black people. If this was really about illegal immigration, you'd be angry with the illegal immigrants from Holland who arrived in this country uninvited, stayed without our permission, and stole our land. You say it's not the same because we didn't have immigration laws back then. But you also claim South Africa has always had borders. Explain how a country can have borders without laws. If there were no laws, then there were no borders. And if there were no borders, then no black person is illegal on African soil. So what are you actually protecting? You're protecting imaginary lines that were drawn up by colonizers who didn't even recognize you as a human being. And now you're using their maps to decide who belongs in this country. They stole the land, wrote their own laws, and what did South Africans do after apartheid? We let them stay. We rewarded them with citizenship. Nobody got deported back to Holland. So why is it that when we suggest documenting black immigrants, suddenly it's a problem? When Malema says, document these people, you say, we can't reward criminal behavior. But we already did that. We already rewarded the biggest criminals in this country's history. White people came here illegally and got rewarded with farms, beachfront properties, and generational wealth. After apartheid, no land was expropriated. We let them keep it. Nobody went to jail. You gave white illegal immigrants land. And all we want to do is give black illegal immigrants documents, which are just pieces of paper, by the way. But even that is unacceptable. This country worships whiteness. If a Nigerian did what Jan van Riebeeck and his friends did, you guys would start a war. But when white foreigners steal from you, you forgive and forget. Because deep down, you're scared. So now, you act tough by bullying people with less power than you. You think harassing black foreigners makes you patriotic. Well, it doesn't. It just makes you look like a coward with selective outrage. Bullied by white people and too scared to fight back. So now you flex your muscles on poor black immigrants because they're the only people you can win a fight against. You're angry with undocumented black immigrants, but you're okay living alongside the descendants of Dutch settlers who came here illegally and stole everything from you. You say we can't tolerate disrespect from foreigners. You mean the same disrespect you've been tolerating from white settlers for
Will Africa rise as one or remain fragmented? Will we keep repeating cycles of betrayal and division, or will a new generation finally chart a different path? The answers lie not only in our leaders but in the people who hold them accountable. Thank you for watching AfriFreedom Channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thought-provoking discussions. And always remember, the struggle continues, but so does our hope.